All right, welcome back to another episode of Let's Address This with Costume Season. I am here with doctor, the doctor, Abdul El Sayed, running for U.S. Senate in Michigan. Dr. El Sayed, thanks for some few minutes of your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I didn't know that I was a doctor.
I wanted to make sure you knew because it sounds like you didn't know. A doctor. We'll come back.
Is that what you get when you go to medical school?
You know what? The thing is, I'm a Juris Doctor, and I get made fun of for being called a doctor. I don't know how you got that for you.
Honestly, to me, it's like the whole thing's kind of laughable because to me, I don't really. The degrees I did are not really of import. The question is whether or not you can see a doctor.
That's right.
That's really the question. And at the end of the day, I want everybody in this country to be able to see a doctor.
And that's the first question I wanted to ask you, because in this race, you're the only one actually championing universal health care. Talk a bit more about why that's such a critical component, not just of this race, but of the national conversation.
Let me just tell you this. Like when I was in actual medical school, I remember seeing a patient who the healthcare system was working extra hard to chew up and spit out.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with my attending, and we made sure to admit her. This woman had full-blown AIDS, had an actively bleeding pelvic mass. Despite her whole life being hypertensive, she had paradoxical low blood pressure. We took care of her for 2 weeks and tried to find her the only discharge opportunity where she could go to a rehab facility for her alcohol addiction that took HIV positive patients, and then hooked her up with housing after her rehab stint. Ended up going home with a family member. 2 weeks later, I just finished my residency application, and I'm going to have dinner with a friend on the subway, and she's laid out on the seats. And I checked in on her. She couldn't remember who I was, and made sure she was okay, and then went home and pulled my residency application. I don't want anybody to have to suffer that in the United States of America. $225 billion is the medical debt in this country. That is more than the GDP of half of all U.S. states.
Yep.
It shouldn't be this hard to see a doctor. And so I knew that I wanted to use my training and my career not to work in a system that breaks people like that patient of mine. I wanted to work in a system where everybody could see a doctor regardless of who they were, what their circumstances were. And that's been the cause of my life. And so, at the end of the day, people can quibble about my qualifications. I'll tell you this. Everybody in this country should have a doctor. And that's what I learned in medical school.
And the story you told, Abdul, is extraordinarily painful, but it's also happening, according to a Yale study, nearly 70,000 times a year, every single year. And it's entirely preventable. And part of it goes into the conversation on economic justice as well. And congratulations, you've been endorsed by UAW.
So grateful.
And to me, the UAW endorsement is more than just an ordinary endorsement. People forget. The UAW is who bailed out Dr. King to the tune of $160,000. Now, this is 60 years ago.
Yeah.
That's an absurd. It's a lot of money now. That's an absurd amount of money back then. So they have been at the forefront of doing what's right, even when it wasn't popular. What does the UAW endorsement mean to you in your campaign?
I tell you, I'm so honored to earn the trust of 300,000 auto workers. My dad came to this country to make cars. He was an automotive engineer, did a PhD at Wayne State, designed some of GM's coolest cars. To earn the endorsement, the support of our auto workers, the folks who built the middle class, both sat down and stood up to teach America what it looks like to fight for economic justice, who are carrying that fight in Michigan today. The fact that they'd honor me with their support as their choice for U.S. Senate, it's humbling, and I'm just so deeply honored. And for me, I just want to make sure I do that endorsement justice every single day for the rest of this campaign and the next 6 years as U.S. Senator. Because at the end of the day, working people are fighting for the things that all of us need and deserve.
Yeah.
Solidarity with the people you work for so that a corporation can't offshore and automate your job.
Yeah.
That has never been more important than it is today in an era where AI is coming in and taking on and potentially hollowing out whole swaths of our economy.
Yep.
They're fighting for guaranteed health care. They're fighting for benefits that you can depend on, not the kind that they'll come take away from you. They're fighting for clean air, clean water for their members. They're fighting to stand up. Just this week, I got the opportunity to walk a picket line. And this is crazy, Qasim. I just want people to understand the story. A company that asked its workers to take concessions in 2008, and they went from a top line of $22, topping out at $22 an hour, to taking huge concessions to $14 an hour. No, I'm sorry, topping out at $29 an hour, took concessions to topping out at $14 an hour, and they've only made 4 of those dollars back. Their fight is to get to $30 an hour by 2030. Here's the crazy thing. That corporation since 2008 has now bought other companies. They've made $8 billion. Their CEO made $111 million on his own as one dude. And they're fighting the workers tooth and nail to give any of that back. That's the issue that we're facing up and down the economy. Auto workers are in front of that fight. I'm so honored to fight with them. My hope is that I can be the tip of the spear for that fight.
Absolutely.
To fight for economic dignity in every sector of American life.
And it can't be more critical now as we're facing worse wealth and income inequality now than even during the Great Depression. It's a breaking point, and something's got to change. Let's talk about the general, because I think the campaign you're running is fantastic. Polls have you up. I know you're still sprinting. You're not slowing down. But the biggest objection we hear about you for the general, they're not attacking your policies. They're not attacking your vision. They're not attacking your strategies. They're saying you can't win a general election in Michigan. They voted for Trump. How is an Arab Muslim going to win in the general election in Michigan? Talk about that.
Well, first of all, polls don't vote, people vote. So I don't pay much attention to polls. My whole team will tell you that. I'm a lot more interested in having a conversation with the people in the state of Michigan. You know, when I kicked off this campaign, this primary, everybody's like, that guy has no chance, for the same exact reasons they say now. But, you know, you and I are children of immigrants. We do math, right? Yeah. And let's just talk about the math. Think about who we lost in 2024. Arab and Muslim voters and young men.
That's right.
Who better to win them back than Arab Muslim, not quite young man, but youngish man, okay? Yes. I can have a conversation with the voters we lost that is honest and direct about what we need to do to focus back on the issues that too often we've forgotten. That you need a home, you need a job, you need health care, you need clean air, clean water, and you need your basic rights, right? That's what this campaign is built on. Number two, I'm going to be running not against the guy's name on a piece of paper. I'm going to be running against an actual guy. That guy's name is Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers voted 60 times to raise prescription drug prices. He then architected the legislation that kicked off the opioid epidemic, and then took a $14 million payout. Yeah. $14 million payout from the pharmaceutical industry to go be a pharma lobbyist after he retired from Congress. Bought a McMansion in Florida. Who better to beat him than the doctor who rebuilt the health department in this city that we're sitting in right now, led the effort to eliminate $700 million of medical debt for 300,000 families, and put Narcan in 100 locations and vending machines for free. Who better? And then the last thing I'll say is this. Republicans get used to running against Democrats as if Republicans are strong and we're weak. Yeah. I challenge Mike Rogers to outstrong me on anything. Mentally, morally, physically. I'm about to chase that man up and down the street. By the time I'm done with him, his own golf buddies won't laugh at his jokes.
I love it.
I'm going to beat him by 7. I'm going to beat him by more than we have ever beat a Republican in this state. We're going to hold that seat, and we're going to show people what it looks like to actually fight for the values we need and deserve. Yeah. And we're going to do it in the same exact way we've been running this campaign, by going everywhere and talking to everybody. That's it. I've studied complicated things when I went to medical school. Yeah. This is not that complicated.
Yeah. I mean, fighting for working people, being unapologetic about your values, condemning the injustices we're seeing internationally and domestically, and then having a people-funded campaign. Abdul, where can people go and learn more about your campaign and get involved?
AbdulForSenate.com. That's it. Sign up to volunteer. Chip us off $5, $10, $7,000 if you got it. We're in a dogfight with AIPAC. Yep. AIPAC's called me the most dangerous candidate for the U.S.-Israel relationship. I really wish they'd put it on a black V-neck. I wear it every day. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this state is a state full of good people. And I'll just finish here. Yeah. When they tell me I can't win because of my name, it always bothers me because I've been Abdul in Michigan the better part of my whole life. Yep. I know what it's like to be an Abdul in Michigan. Yep. And as an Abdul in Michigan, I can tell you that Michiganders they're open-minded. They're good-hearted. Yep. They could care less how you pray. They want to know what you pray for. That's right. And we pray for the same things. And I'll tell you this, it pisses me off when people say I can't win because they're not indicting me. They're indicting the people in the state of Michigan. And I'm here to serve those people, and I can tell you those people deserve a lot better than they're getting, and they are much bigger than the DC folk who like to pontificate about what people can win and what people can't. They're a lot bigger than those DC folk give them credit for. And I wish they'd spend some time here getting to know the people in Michigan. Dr. Abdul El Sayed, your next senator from the great state of Michigan. Thank you. I hope to have you back on soon, all right? Looking forward to it. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Address This with Constance. We'll see you next time.